Hey y'all, hi. We're zoomed in nice and tight again today because I'm gonna be applying makeup to my face and I might be able to see what I'm doing. And I'm really feeling myself today because I'm wearing this. This is a new print from Print Fresh and it has asparagus and artichokes on it, and I live. So here's what I've been thinking about lately. I've been thinking about how much I enjoy makeup, and I've been thinking that one of the things that I enjoy the most about makeup is the process of deciding which look to apply and which techniques to employ on any given specific occasion. So when I'm about to go out in the world and do something, I sit down and I make decisions about which products to use and how I want the overall look to come together based on what I'm about to do, like the things I'm going to be doing physically and the people that I'm going to be seeing and the environment that I'm going to be in. But I don't feel like that gets showcased all that much on YouTube. A lot of times when I'm putting on looks, it's to show you a product, to review a product, or I'm applying a look to film a YouTube video. And that's its own kind of parameter, like makeup that looks good on camera or that's going to fit the subject of the video that I'm about to film. But most of you aren't putting on makeup to film YouTube videos. You're putting on makeup to go out into the world and do things. So I want to start bringing that decision-making process to my videos. And I'm starting with this one. I'm going to talk through how I would do my makeup if I were going out to dinner. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Hannah and I love beautiful things. I really like makeup, but I try not to buy too much of it. And if you enjoy this, I hope you will subscribe. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Sadie's in the background chomping away at her food and making some serious kitty cat mouth noises, which I hope you can't hear. I'm gonna start with my eyeshadow because that is actually the main focus of a look for me when I'm going out to dinner. But before I do that, I'm gonna put some of this Clarins SOS primer, the green one, onto my skin just to tone down a little bit of this redness. I love putting on makeup to go out to dinner. Dinner might actually be my favorite occasion for which to wear makeup. Dinner and, I don't know, event. I really love event makeup, like putting on makeup to go to some sort of fun event. But dinner is just a little bit more of a recurring kind of thing, you know what I mean? And it's, I don't know, maybe I even in a vacuum like it more than going to some sort of event because dinner is gonna be intimate. You know what I mean? You're there, you're sitting face to face with people. You know that you're going to be active, be animated, you'll be listening, you'll be making eye contact, and you'll be engaged with your eyes, with your mouth, with your head, you know what I mean? Like it just feels like the part of me that wears makeup is the part of me that is the most present at dinner with friends. I feel like I'm saying this in a really weird way, but I hope you understand what I mean. Full disclosure, I'm not actually going out to dinner after this. I'm just pretending. We're just doing it for the tube. I'm showing you what I would do if this were that happy occasion and I were going out to dinner. So this is what my considerations tend to be when I'm getting ready to go out to dinner. First, I think about the people that I'm going to be with. So for the sake of this video, let's say that I'm going to a nice dinner with a handful of friends. First, I think about those friends and I think about what's going to make me feel the most confident and comfortable when I'm dining with them. And this is in balance with what's going to make me feel kind of like happy and excited and expressive of myself. When it comes to comfort and confidence with my friends at dinner or even with Joe or like with family or something, the primary concern for me is that I don't want to look or feel overdone. Sometimes when I'm filming or when I'm going out to an event, like an influencer event, or I'm going to be seeing other people who I know are really, really into makeup, sometimes I'll do the most with my complexion. I can put on a lot of makeup and feel really done up and feel comfortable and confident. But that same amount of makeup might make me feel a little bit overly made up at a dinner with friends. So one of the things that I know that I'm going to do today that I would definitely do if I were getting ready to go out to a nice dinner is try to have as natural and clean of a skin look as possible. I don't want my cheeks to be too bright in color. They could maybe have a pretty sculpted application of whatever I put on them, but I don't want the color to be too bright because I feel like people who don't wear a lot of makeup, who aren't deep in the makeup world, a brightly colored blush, a heavy application of a brightly colored blush is one of the things that makes them feel the most alienated and would in turn make me feel less comfortable than maybe I would like to feel at a dinner with friends who aren't serious makeup or beauty people. In the company of people who don't wear a lot of makeup, I do feel confident wearing a bold lip, like a strong red lip, because I feel that's a very timeless, classic, and for many people, accessible statement makeup choice. But because it's dinner, I'm not going to be wearing a bold or a red lip because I know that I'm going to be eating and drinking and I don't want to be concerned about it. So I know that I'm not going to be putting too much color in the cheeks. I'm not going to be putting too much product on the lips, and that leaves the eyes. And the eyes are where I'm going to go big. This is the palette that I recently built. I filmed myself building this palette. That video is already up on YouTube, and if you'd like to see it, then check the description box down below. I will leave the link there. I could go in almost any direction with this palette. I could go in a colorful direction or a neutral direction. I could go with a really beautiful matte look. I've been doing that a lot actually, just applying this shadow and then a little bit of these two all over my lid. So I could do that. I could also go in a very shiny textured direction. There's even a multi-chrome in here. So when it comes to choosing between a matte texture and a sparkly, shiny texture for the eyes, in this situation, putting on makeup to go out for dinner, I almost always choose sparkly, shiny. That's partly because I really love my sparkly, shiny eyeshadows, and it's a pleasure to have an excuse to wear them. But it's also because over the years, I've learned that with sparkle, shine, glimmer, mica, multi-chrome, with like reflective dimension in makeup, when it looks like you've gone overboard at home or done the most at home, often when you get out into the world, especially candlelight or the dim light of a restaurant in the evening, sitting outdoors at a restaurant in the evening, or walking around the city streets before you get to the restaurant or after you've left the restaurant, in those settings, what looks like a lot of glitter at home just looks very subtle and classy. I actually think that glittery and shiny shadows are shown off to their absolute best effect in the dim lighting of a place like a restaurant. So I'm the most excited to put this kind of makeup on when I'm going into that kind of setting. And when it comes to choosing between neutral and color, in this situation, preparing to go out to dinner, I almost always go for something neutral, or if I choose color, I choose sort of like a muted version of a color. And that's because I so want to go with something shiny. So I feel like if I'm going the absolute distance with shine and sparkle, and then I also go the absolute distance with color, like a really, really shiny magenta glitter, for example, doing the most in both of those ways with texture and with color brings me a little bit close to the edge of feeling like I maybe have done the most to the point of doing too much for me, for my comfort in that setting. That's not to say that if you wear sparkly magenta glitter to dinner, you'll have done too much. You probably look absolutely epic and perfect. I'm just telling you what I would do and what I have done in the past. I've often sat down in this moment about to put the makeup on, and I look at a palette like this that has color and neutrals and texture. And I say to myself, well, I really want to go for shine because the shining eyeshadows are going to look amazing in the restaurant. And because I want to go for shine, I'm going to put down a neutral base and build on that. And that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into this kind of like, it's like a rosy taupe, or almost like a rose gold taupe. That is from the Natasha Denona Lila palette. I'm gonna put that all over both lids and buff it out, and that's gonna kind of give me it's a little darker than my skin, so it gives me sort of this shadowed space on my lids upon which to build the rest of the look. All right, this is a great base for the look. And one of the things I really like about it is that I've blown the shadow out really far. So it's definitely more intense. It is definitely that ombre effect that you get from blending something out, right? It's more intense on the lids. It's at its most opaque on the lids. And then as it goes out towards my eyebrows, it gets softer and softer because I buffed it and buffed it and buffed it. But it doesn't stop. The blend doesn't stop before it gets to my brows. Like the blend goes all the way out to my brows, although it's quite soft by the time it gets there, and it goes kind of all the way out to here. And I find that this kind of look, especially when you want to not feel overdone, going for softness and washes of color rather than structure and paint and hard lines is one of the ways to achieve that. So I'm planning to put other shadows on my eyes to layer them, to use a number of shades. But because I'm not doing like a paint by numbers structural thing, it will still end up looking very organic. And organic is what I want. I don't want to feel self-conscious. I don't want to feel like there's a different face painted on top of my face because I'm showing up as myself to be with my friends. But I want to wear the makeup that I love, and I want my lids to be dimensional and shining. And in addition to that, I want my features to be enhanced, you know? I want my eyes to look their best. I want the makeup to light them up. And the next step is in the interest of that, actually. I'm gonna put a little bit of a darker colored shadow. I'm just gonna go for this dark brown because I want it to be quite neutral. This is from the Gold palette. And I'm gonna put this in my outer corner and also blow it out and blend it out. But I'm doing this to give the look of depth in the outer corners of my eyes. My eyes are hooded and they can look kind of closed in sometimes. So this is to counteract that. So I followed the same principle as I did with the first shadow. It's a little bit more intense, closer to my lash line. And I did apply kind of an intense line of the shadow on my lash line with this very convenient Rephr brush. It's the brush 28. And then as it gets higher, it gets more buffed out, kind of an ombre effect. But I brought the shadow up above my lid and onto my brow bone because I have hooded eyes. If I just kept it on my lid, then when I opened my eyes and looked at you, you wouldn't be able to see any of what I just added. I also took this brush and buffed some of that brown shadow out underneath my lower lash line. And now I have this kind of structured base and I can proceed with layering whichever exciting and dimensional shadows I want on top of this base. And I'm actually gonna start with the most subtle addition. I'm going to add this shadow, which is from the Gold palette. It's called Sparks. And you can see that it's sheer. You can sort of see the color of my finger through it, right? That means you'll be able to see the color of the eyeshadow that I've already put down on my eyes through it. But wherever I put it, it's gonna look kind of wet and shiny. And I want that all over my lids. So I said I wanted it all over my lids, but what I actually meant was like all over the entire eye area, except that I didn't put it in the very center because I'm gonna put something else in the center and I didn't need to put it there because it's just gonna be covered up. But I put it all around the rest, like it's all over my brow bone. I also really like taking a super sheer shiny shade like this into this part of the face, like the inner, it's not exactly the inner corner, it's like above the inner corner, like the inner part of the brow bone. I love the way that this looks when this inner part of the eye, or the sort of like between the nose and the brow under here, has a wet look shine, like the entire eye area is shining and its contours are enhanced by glitter. Now, I have seen your messages about the Gold palette being discontinued. I'll make some videos about it soon. We'll talk about it. But I did want to mention, because I'm using some Gold palette shades in this video, that you don't have to have the Gold palette to get a shadow like this, to get looks like this. I clearly love this particular eyeshadow from the Gold palette. I mean, I've used most of it up, but it's just because I love that particular texture of eyeshadow. And there are a lot of other things on the market that could stand in for this and do the same thing. Actually, off the top of my head, the first thing that occurs to me is the Fenty Diamond Bomb highlighter, How Many Carats. It performs just like this, and you can use it on the eyes in the exact same way that I just used Sparks. So now for the really, really fun part. I am tempted to use this glitter, but I just used that glitter when I did a look using this palette on my Patreon. I used that glitter and then I was wearing that eye look in like another YouTube video. So I feel like I just featured that. I want to go for something else. Let's use JD Glow Unexpected. It's this shade right down here. I love this because there's some grunge to it. It's not as sheer as the glitter, so I'm not going to put it all over. I'm just gonna put it in the center and then gently tap some of it over other parts of my lid. Okay, and I buffed the edges of that with a big fluffy brush just to make it seamless, to make it kind of all look like one. You all know, and I know, that I've applied 1, 2, 3, 4 different eyeshadows here, but I feel like it kind of all looks like one. all one sort of like rainbow galaxy, all one sort of like smeary, wet look, dimensional thing. And that look, that it's all cohesive, that it's all one, that is what gives it that organic look, that it's almost like it's one with the skin, even though it's very obviously makeup. So I'm gonna pop on a little bit, just a little bit of brown liner and mascara. The brown liner that I used is this. It's an old Glossy color slide. And I didn't put a really dark line in my waterline. I didn't use it to like define my waterline or outline my eyes and make them stand out. I just put enough in my waterline to obscure what was basically like a white line. That's like the natural color of my waterline, separating the shadow from my eye. I was just trying to bring the darkness that was underneath my lash line with eyeshadow, bring that all the way in. So it was a very, very light application. And then the mascara that I'm using right now is this one, the Gucci Mascara L'Obscure. And this can build and build and build to something quite spidery, but I put a pretty light application of it on today. Because again, in spite of the unnatural super reflectiveness and the blue undertones in the lids, I'm trying to keep it all as organic and natural as possible. So I feel like a washy, super shiny lid look like this with slightly wispier, slightly more toned down lashes. It's a good combination for this occasion. Now, I brushed up my brows a little bit before I started filming, not with product, but just, you know, brushing them into place. And I kind of like how they look. I like how they have this natural, easy arch to them, but I know that they won't stay like that without some product. So I'm going to put some of this Refi Brow Sculpt. I'm going to put some of this in them, and I'm going to try to use it to get them to stay in their current position. There, I feel like they look a little bit more polished maybe than they were looking before, a little bit defined by the product. The shape is essentially what it was. Okay, it's time for complexion. I have a little bit of fallout on here, so I'm gonna wipe that away, and I'm going to go in with my usual concoction for natural skin. I'm gonna go in with thin layers, trying to keep as skin-like of a look as possible, but just, you know, brighten up my skin, get it to be a little bit more even, and conceal these scars a little bit. But I'm not going to try to obscure them completely. I want some of the texture and the uneven qualities in my skin to show through, because that's what makes it look like it's not very made up, or like it's not made up at all. And that's what I want today. Okay, I've put the Aaron's Faces Radiant Firming Concealer and the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer on the back of my hand. I'm gonna mix them together and apply them in a thin layer. I like the Aaron's Faces Radiant Firming Concealer for its coverage and its incredibly emollient and comforting consistency. And I like the Makeup Forever for its brightness, and it's also very thin and skin-like. So there was just a little bit, and I didn't even use all of it. It was a really, really thin application, perhaps like some sort of serum foundation, or really the effect is that of a tinted moisturizer, because it's not super full coverage, but it's like put a veil of color over my skin that just makes me look more healthy, makes me look less red, and makes my face match more the rest of my body. Especially in person, you can still see some of these scars. You can even still see some of the hormonal redness around my nose, but I'm not gonna cover that stuff up. I don't feel like I need a perfectly blank canvas to go out to dinner with my friends to look nice. And in fact, I feel like the sort of healthy glow of real skin is the most flattering look for the setting that I'm imagining. If I had active blemishes or a really big dark scar, I would probably go in and spot conceal that. But right now, I feel like this is enough for me. So I'm gonna powder it down just a little bit. I'm using this Givenchy Prism Libre powder. And sometimes when I powder with this, I go in with the powder puff. Today, I'm only gonna use the powder puff on my forehead. Most of my forehead's gonna be covered with my bangs, and I feel like pushing the powder into my forehead with this puff really helps it stay more matte, but it's like that kind of glowy matte that I really like that I get from this powder, like a soft, silky matte. I also like getting a little bit of the powder into my brows. I feel like it helps to set them even more. But on the rest of my face, I think that if I go in with the puff, it'll be too intense. It'll give me too intensely powdered of a look. So I'm just going to get some of the powder onto a brush. This is the Aaron's Faces powder brush. I really like it. And I'm going to tap a lot of it off. We're talking about very, very lightly powdering the perimeter of my face and a little bit around my mouth. Just trying to make it so that the complexion, that really light layer of complexion product is less likely to rub off if I accidentally touch my face to my hand or something during dinner. And also making it less likely it'll end up looking very, very shiny or very greasy, especially if I become animated during dinner and, you know, work up a sweat. I am going to powder my neck just a little bit, just with the remnants of what's on this brush, the remnants of what was on this brush, and then a little bit with the Kevyn Aucoin Neo Highlighter in Sahara. This product is really great for just kind of like blending the color of my neck into the color of my chest and face. It's very finely milled. You know, I think it's a tiny bit glowy, but it's not so glowy that it's gonna make my neck look glowy. Just gives it that satin look, that skin-like look. I love to wear a glowy cheek when I'm going out to dinner. Again, candlelight, dim lighting, evening lighting, a really glowy cheek is like shown off to its best effect in that kind of setting. So I'm gonna go in with this oldie but goodie for me. It's the Hollywood Beauty Light one from Charlotte Tilbury. It's almost used up and I'm kind of on a mission at this point, so I've been using it a lot lately. And I'm going to start with the Persona Bronze Multi-Stick in the shade Dune. I'm going to apply these to my cheeks together and buff them out and have that be the base of my cheek look. And I know that I already used powder, but I didn't powder my cheeks. I just powdered down here and around the perimeter. So that's why it's okay to powder. Usually you don't want to put cream products on top of powder, although that is a rule that I break all the time. But I'm not particularly breaking it this time because I didn't put powder directly onto the place where I knew I was going to be applying those cream products. This looks nice, I think, and very natural, and I could just leave it, but I want to tweak it a little bit. Partly because it looks really shiny, and you know, that's because I'm under studio lights. It would probably look more subtle if I were in a different setting, but I just want to dampen that shine a tiny bit. And also, I want to give it a little bit more depth, but without really adding color. Again, I don't want a really brightly colored and shiny cheek look for this, but I do think that a sculpted cheek or a sculpted face, maybe a little bit more intense of sculpting than I would usually wear, can be nice for dim lighting and for an evening setting. So I'm going to go in with the Rituel de Fille Inner Glow Cream Pigment in the shade Eros. And I'm going to use this just to neutralize a bit of the orange from that bronzer and to sculpt my cheeks more, but without adding a brightly colored blush. I'm going to go right into the pan with a brush. This is the Tom Ford blush brush, and just get a little bit on it because I don't want it to be too intense when I'm tapping it on. Okay, so that has neutralized the color, dampened the shine a little bit, and also added more of a sculpting effect. It's made it less colorful and less bright, but also more dramatic in terms of how much pigment there is on my cheeks. So I feel like that was a really good solution. But I am going to just put a tiny bit more powder, again, just the teeniest bit under my eyes, just to tone down the shine the slightest bit. I really like this Inner Glow Cream Pigment in Eros for a dim light setting. Sometimes under super bright lights or in daylight, it can look, especially if I'm not careful with the application, it can look a little bit like dirt on my face because it is, after all, a cool toned brown blush. But I know that if the light isn't so bright and if colors aren't as perceptible, it's just going to look like sculpting. So I feel like it's the perfect thing to employ in this moment, because also almost any other blush or bronzer that I reach for was going to add color to my cheeks. And I feel like it added depth, but without adding color. I always like to define this colorless mole that I have on my cheeks. It's colorless even when I don't have makeup on. It's not as though it was this color and I covered it up with makeup, but because it's a bump, I think that sometimes when I just put makeup over it and I don't redefine it as a mole, it can look like a blemish. So I do that for this, which is actually a mole, but that's also a technique that you can use if you're going out to dinner or something and you have a blemish or a healing blemish that's three-dimensional on your face. Just applying your base makeup over it and then defining it with a little bit of eyeliner can make it look like it's actually a mole. Okay, let's talk about lips for going out to dinner. When I'm putting on a makeup look and I'm gonna be eating and drinking, this is what I almost always do. I take a really sticky lip liner. I love this one from Lancome. It is very long lasting, and this is also really close to the color of my lips. So I'm gonna use it to enhance my lips, but not to make a lip look. So hopefully it won't look too much like I'm wearing makeup, but my lips will look just a little bit juicier than they do now. I'm gonna go ahead and do what I do, and then I'll tell you what I did. So if you look up close on your lips, there's your lip skin. At least this is how it is on me. I have my lip skin, which is pigmented, right? It's like several shades darker than the rest of my face. It's like the color of the inside of my mouth. So my lip skin, and then there's my face skin, like the skin of the up on my upper lip and around my face skin. You know what I mean? Like my face. So there's my lip skin and my face skin. And where those two kinds of skin meet, there's like this rim or edge. On some people, it is really a defined like bump, the part where the face skin meets the lip skin. And on some people, it's more just like lip skin that's a little bit of a different color. For me, it's more like just my lip skin, but it's more the color of my face skin, right? So there's this edge where my lip meets my face, and that edge is paler than my lips, but it's still technically my lips. It's softer, it's part of my lips. So what I did was I took this lip liner and I just colored in that line. That's mostly what I did. I just made sure that all of my lips, including that little rim where the two parts of my skin meet, all of it was one color. And I colored inside of my lips a little bit, but I didn't really go outside. I wasn't drawing on my face skin with the lip liner. I was just drawing on that bump, that edge where they meet. And then anywhere that the lip liner got kind of outside the rim completely, I used this brush on the end of it to soften it and blur it a little bit. So I wasn't trying to like wipe it away really harshly and make a harsh edge. I was just making sure that the edge of the color line is blurred, especially if it was getting outside of the lip rim line. So what I've ended up with is a lip look that doesn't really look like a lip look. It just kind of looks like my lips. I mean, maybe right now, because I just applied it and so it's a very even coating of color, you can tell more clearly that it's lip color. But as soon as I start eating, drinking, and especially in dim light, it's not really looking like there's anything on my lips. Like it doesn't look like there's a product of substance adding a layer of something to my lips. So in terms of the effect of the look, that's right in line with what I want. And in terms of the practicality, it's perfect because even as this wears off, the thing that's most likely to wear off is the lip liner that I put on my lip skin, on the inside of my lips. That's gonna wear off for sure during dinner. But the lip liner that I put on the rim between my lips and my face, that's actually likely to stay during dinner because even with eating and drinking, I'm not like touching that outer part of my lips a lot. So especially with a really sturdy, long-lasting, sticky lip liner like this, there's a chance that the most important part of this lip look, which is that defining line around my lips, is gonna last through dinner. And because I picked a color that's almost exactly the color of the skin of my lips, even if the product wears away from inside of my lips, the rim that I drew on will still match the lips that you see. Again, especially in dim lighting. So that's my go-to, my strategy for enhancing my lips a little bit, even though I'm going to be eating dinner. And sometimes after I apply lip liner like that, it feels a little bit uncomfortable, like a little bit sticky. This product especially, I think it's really designed to like hold on to the products you might layer on top of it. So sometimes I'll take a tiny bit of something. I'm just gonna use a little bit of this Glossier balm.com, really just the tiniest bit, just to make it a little bit more comfortable. If I were to then go to dinner, I would definitely take this with me to dinner, and it would be something that I could comfortably reapply even without a mirror. I love to wear a statement earring at dinner. I feel like just like sitting at dinner and being face to face with people at dinner shows off one's makeup to great effect, it also shows off an earring to great effect. I absolutely love these Jennifer Behr earrings. I've been wearing them lately basically every chance I've gotten. And these, as beautiful as they hopefully look just, you know, in daylight or under these studio lights, their beauty triples, quadruples, quintuples in dim lighting because they have these crystals. It's like hoops with little crystals. And when the light hits them from different directions in darkness, they just spangle and shine, and they're the greatest. With a look like this, I might wear something understated, like a blouse, something like a silk blouse, maybe something like this. This is a designer blouse. It's by Marni. I bought it from Yuke's forever ago. I mean, it must have been, I think it was 2013. I think I purchased this in 2013. And it's so nice that It's one of the few things I have that's so nice that I shy away from wearing it frequently. But I could totally see myself wearing it out to a nice dinner. And we've got to bring the haircut out to play too, especially these days. And that's it, y'all. This is absolutely how I might do my makeup if I were going out to a nice dinner with some friends. To be clear though, I don't always spend as much time or obsess over all of the decisions or details the way that I did in this video when I'm about to go out to dinner with friends. I mean, sometimes I don't have time. I just slap on a little bit of makeup and go. Sometimes I don't have time to do much makeup at all and I just go. In this video, I was simulating what I would do if I really did have the time, like if I had set aside a full hour and I was gonna sit down and just leisurely do my makeup in preparation. If I was making the getting ready and the putting on makeup part of the pleasure of going out to dinner, and I was kind of giving myself the treat of spending a long time and making all of these decisions carefully. One does not have to make all of these choices consciously or make the right choice or the perfect choice about each one of these things when going out to dinner or when going out to spend time with friends. But it has been fun to talk through every single tiny decision and consideration that one might make and that I sometimes do make when I have the time and I'm really deep in it and I'm enjoying putting together a look for a specific occasion. I hope that you enjoyed this. I really hope that this was fun. And I want you to tell me what kind of occasion you want me to do next. I thought about like how I would do my makeup for the first day of school if I were going back to school, if I were going to like teach class or something like that, like an academic setting. How I might do my makeup if the pandemic was totally over and I was getting to go out tango dancing. I could also do like how I'd do my makeup for a beach day, or even like to go hiking or something where I'm not really going for a makeup look, but I'm gonna do a little bit of something. Please tell me in the comments what you want to see me simulate. I also hope that you will click the thumbs up button on this video. And more than any of that, I hope that you're remembering to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.